How much fuel do you have left? Here are 3 tricks to find out how much gas is left in your tank. Recently, on a backpacking trip through Grayson Highlands, I experienced one of the backpacker's worst fears. I ran out of fuel. Okay, so maybe that isn't a backpacker's worst fear, but running out of fuel is an inconvenience. Plus, it can be embarrassing to not plan properly. So, how can you keep from running out of fuel on the trail? There are 2 things you will need to know. First, how much fuel do you need? And second, how much fuel do you have? The answer to the first question depends on a lot of factors. What kind of stove are you using? What are the conditions like where you're hiking? The wind, the temperature, the elevation. But a good rule of thumb for a standard isobutane propane stove, like one of these, is that you want 1 gram of fuel per 1 ounce of water that you're boiling. So, in order to boil 2 cups, which is 16 ounces of water, you're going to need about 16 grams of fuel. Now, in perfect conditions, my stove uses about half of that, but conditions when camping are rarely perfect. This estimate works for me, but understand that your mileage is going to vary, so I think it's a good idea for you to keep track of how much water that you boil and the fuel that you use so you can figure out what your own personal burn rate is. Which brings us to the second question. How much fuel do you have? It might seem like an impossible question, right? You can't see inside this thing, but I'm here to show you 3 tricks to test how much fuel is inside your canister. If you give your can a shake, you can hear and feel that fuel inside. That's because while it's compressed inside the canister, the fuel is in liquid form. It will take a little bit of practice with this method, but it should be easy to tell a full canister from an empty one. And the upside is, it takes no time to check, and it doesn't require any tools. Let's talk about net weight and gross weight. Net weight is the weight of the fuel inside the canister. This MSR has 110 grams of fuel. Gross weight is the total weight of the fuel and the can. If you have a scale, check to see if your can is full. If the canister weighs its full gross weight, that means that all of the fuel is still inside. If some fuel is missing, note how much lighter than the gross weight your can is. Then subtract that amount from the net weight of fuel. And that's how much fuel you have left. Some canisters don't have their gross weight written on them. Looking at you, Jetboil. In this case, you can just weigh the can yourself before using it and then write the gross weight on it. The upside to this method is that it's very accurate. The downside is you won't have a scale on the trail. But there is a way to weigh your fuel without a scale. Just like the Greek mathematician Archimedes, we can use buoyancy and displacement to weigh objects with water. The heavier our canister is, the deeper it sinks into the water. The less fuel it has inside, the higher it floats. The MSR cans actually have little lines on the can that tell you how much fuel is left inside of it based on where it floats at. Just look at this. I'm starting first with the 6.9 ounce can, which is just half an ounce short of being full. Notice how it floats just a little below that full line. Compare this to the can that's completely full, which floats all the way up at the top line. We can measure a difference in fuel as subtle as half an ounce. If your can doesn't have these little lines on them, you can just mark it yourself. Once when it's all the way full, and then again when the can's all the way empty. Now, if you can find a still body of water, you can measure exactly how much gas is left in the tank. That way you'll know if you can afford to boil an extra cup of coffee or if you need to be stingy with your fuel. Which test is your favorite? Got another tried and true method that I missed? Let me know in the comments, and I'll mention the best suggestion in the next video. Sparky out.